Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Untitled Racing iRacing Road Race number 1. Today here we are with the MX-5s at the Okayama circuit. Joining me in the commentary box today is Peter. Welcome, welcome. Your first time with us today at Anti-Stall. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you doing?
Yeah, pretty good here. Pretty chill day, and I've been looking forward to this race all day, especially after the other race we had on Friday, which was absolutely glorious. I'm hoping to get the same sort of things out of today's race.
I think we can expect some pretty good close racing out of this course at Okayama. It's one of these shorter setups that we can do at this track, and with the draft on these cars being so strong, we should keep the packs pretty close together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really hoping for some wheel-to-wheel action. We have got the sort of grid that would give some wheel-to-wheel action, as we do have our usual suspects of Kevin Stam and also Benny Fage and Kyle on the track at the minute, who are always very good with their wheel-to-wheel racing. So we can get those up on screen now. We've got Kevin on a hot lap here. So with iRacing, we're doing a lone qualifying, which means everybody gets on track individually in their own little server and all does their laps, meaning you can only see currently the person that I choose for you guys to see. So right now, we're on Kevin as he goes around the start-finish to put in his first time after his outlap.
Yeah, and really the trick here is getting on the power right as you clip that apex. This being the shorter layout is not quite as critical because you're going to be making this right turn into this double apexer section before making the left. Now, getting the weight transferred over onto your right wheels to make that left turn is going to be really critical. This is probably going to be one of the main areas we see passing today, heading down into this hairpin.
You'll see the fantastic livery that Kevin is running today, the Anti-Stall Racing livery that any of you can go onto Kevin's Trading Paints and download. We have them in...
I will say, very sharp.
Yeah, I do love that livery. We have various colours of that livery as well. I do believe there's a red, yellow, and a green one for you to go and download. If you can't find
it looks like all of the guys have picked different liveries for us today, so it should be a little bit easier to keep them apart. And Kevin crosses the line in 101.6. Good time, but the tires on these MX-5s take quite a while to warm up, so I'm going to expect the second, maybe third lap to actually be the quickest.
But we do see Kyle actually beat Kevin there by 0.4 of a second. So we see Kyle in the blue Anti-Stall Racing livery. Lovely to see two guys on the track running Anti-Stall Racing liveries at the minute.
Yeah, Kyle is coming down into the final stretch, gets a little bit further into the grass than I think he would have ideally liked, but coming up to the start-finish line.
And he is 0.4 faster than his previous so far. Let's see what he puts over. And he gets a 1 minute, almost 1 minute flat there, but I think that may have been a discounted lap. I think he invalidated halfway through.
Yeah, I think we got a 1x somewhere from just going a little bit wide, so he's going to be ruined if Kevin gets a jump on him any later.
So these guys do get 3 laps. Oh, and Carl goes around, unfortunately, on his last lap, meaning his lap won't count. His 1 minute 1.2 will count, unfortunately, which means...
Based off the injury, Kevin moves in front of him.
Absolutely, Kevin with a 1 minute 01.1.
These drivers today, they get 2, or is it something an open qualifying session of or 3-lap qualifying?
It's a 3-lap qualifying, yes, absolutely. But they do get quite a lot of time to do it. They get about 15 minutes to do it. But as soon as everybody's done, Kevin, who is the admin in that race, will forward the race on a bit quicker for us.
That should be beneficial. Looking down the line, we see Daniel Adams in just over 1 minute 2. Matthew Allen, 2 high. And then Benny is down there, 105. We think he's probably going to want to clean that up a little bit before the race starts.
And I'm just flicking through these guys right now. Very lovely to see that these guys are using a lot of the Anti-Stall Racing liveries. You know, there's the yellow one on track. I think Leon and Matthew are using the yellow one. And we've got Joe and Charlie both using their own liveries. Benny also using his own livery as well. And then we've got Kyle in the blue anti-stall livery. And obviously Kevin, and I think Daniel was using one as well. So, fantastic. Sorry, go on.
I was about to say we had a big jump from Leon, actually, to jump up the order. He's now sitting at 101.2 thereabouts. Good luck from him to put him in the middle of the pack.
And some of you eagle-eyed viewers may have spotted the Digital Motorsports logo on our livery there. We should have a link in the description currently. If you want to go and buy any products from Digital Motorsports, we do have an affiliation with them, and we do get a little bit of kickback. So if you want to support the channel, go check out some Digital Motorsports.
That sounds good. And there we go. We talked about Benny cleaning up that lap. And you can see he's now in 1 minute 0.8. You know, Joe, just down to the wire, comes in at 1 minute 0.7. So he's now taking the pole, visually at least, for this qualifying session.
So just keeping an eye on Leon now. I think he... Is he on his third lap, or is he on his in lap now? Because Leon's typically quite quick. Yeah, it's gone P3 with a 1 minute 8 tenths there. So, we do have the provisional top 3 there, with Joe Taberner in first place with a 1 minute 6 tenths. Benny Phage with a 1 minute 8 tenths, and Leon with a 1 minute 8 tenths as well. And even the fourth place as well, Charlie has managed to get into the 1 minute flat zone. So the top 4 are really going to be scrapping for it. And that does bring me on to talk about the format of today's race. There's 2 races. The first one is 15 minutes, and the second one is 30 minutes. But the second race will have a reversed grid. So those guys that did qualify badly or do badly in the first race will have a good chance at earning some points back.
And of course, reverse grids can just be utter chaos in the first few laps as the faster drivers try and sort themselves out, getting around drivers that either had bad luck the first time around or, on merit or earn their places. So should see quite an amount of chaos in that race.
It's got a message in the chat. Peter, could you turn yourself up a little bit if you possibly could?
I will give that a try.
Thank you, Kevin, for pointing that out. So everybody now back in the pits. 6 minutes of qualifying left. Everybody's finished their laps. Kyle and Leon sat there in their cars on the pit line. They haven't got out of their cars yet. Everybody else currently out of their cars.
Mm-hmm.
So here we see some lovely views of this absolutely glorious track in Japan. The last driver just stepping out of his car, so qualifying is being fast forwarded now. The drivers will grid up very shortly.
All right, so forming the grid, we have Joe Taberner, Benny Feed, and then Leon Elwood, Von Elwood, taking the top 3 spots, followed by Charlie, Kevin, Kyle, Daniel, and then Matthew.
I just want to say your voice is sounding much better now, so yeah, thank you for that.
Oh, right. with the entire grid only separated by about 2.5 seconds, should be enough to keep this group pretty tight together. Barring maybe some of the stock cars, I would say these cars have arguably the greatest draft in all of iRacing.
And they are off. That was very quick. That was a standing start there. Joe getting a fantastic start. Didn't even look like he locked his wheels in the slightest. Benny locked his rears slightly on the start there, but he has caught up nicely. Obviously, the draft doing wonders. Leon just behind, poking his nose in at Benny. Oh, the bouncing of those cars as they hit the curbs around the corners. Benny really poking his nose in there to Joe.
Yeah, the rear tire is so cold going into that first turn. Easy to slide the back around and not have control if you're going to put down power a little bit too early, but it looks like everybody kept it together.
Side by side there is that Charlie and Kevin.
As they round the hairpin, it looks like they're following orders, although they have a move up the inside, and they're going to go too wide across a blind corner, so this really takes a lot of muscle memory to get through this section.
Charlie retaining the lead there, and Kevin dropping back as Kyle is now putting some pressure onto Kevin as well. He's got to poke his nose through any second if he can get out of that slipstream.
And we are almost through wide with Benny taking a wide line, making a little bit of contact, I think, and yes, sliding wide. Oh, he's going to rue that move.
Oh, Benny's gone off.
Now behind.
Yeah, Benny got a punt there from either Leon or Charlie. Didn't quite see that one. I can take a look at my list.
We have Joe leading now, followed by Benny. Definitely, we've got Leon actually stepping out to take a look down the line, but decides against it going into the hairpin. Going up the hill, Joe's leading the way. Pretty confident section, nice clip of the apex, then on full power, mixed down to the blind turn, and then getting a really good run across the last corner to make it a long stretch onto the home straightaway.
And welcome, Lone Ranger in the chat. He had a question saying, is there any F1 races still? And yes, we still do F1 on Tuesdays.
When they're tight, and we've got Leon looking down the inside, but things better if it this early in the race to make too much of a lunge, although right up Joe's tailpipe. Oh, they are getting shifty, surprisingly. Looking a little bit squirrely. I wonder if Leon is thinking that he might actually be better off in clear air, able to run his own pace without having to worry about breaking up behind Joe. Ooh,
big lockup. Yeah, big lockup by Joe there. Didn't seem to affect him too much, though. In fact, it looked like it rotated his car in a little bit for him. Mm-hmm. Kevin and Kyle still battling it out just behind. We saw them nearly side by side in the previous corner then. Kyle backing off slightly. Those two always known for being fairly aggressive and going wheel to wheel every race.
Yeah, I think we saw Kyle getting a little bit loose, taking a lot of that blind curb, which can really unsettle the car and get a lot of bounce in. There's a very sharp edge on the inside, and if you hook up your rear tire, it can really release the rear end. Late tap of the brakes from Joe, but stays in front.
Benny slowly working his way back up again. He just got a pass on Daniel at the back of the grid there. So he's now into P7. He's going to be angrily pushing to try and get back up to the top three.
Credit to him for not succumbing to the red mist and blowing himself or someone else off the track as he's making his way back up.
We do know from previous races, Benny has a particularly aggressive driving technique. He will go for those gaps when they're there, no matter what.
I mean, to paraphrase Ayrton Senna, if you do not go for the gap, you are no longer a sim driver, or something to that effect. Leon just trying to show a little bit of bumper to let Joe know that he's there and ready to jump, although he's going to have to look behind because, almost going too wide behind for second place. And sure enough, he might have actually held on to that, but he's definitely a lot scrappier down in second than than we've seen any other battles yet so far, with 3 people going for that one spot, all in the ASR livery.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic screenshot opportunity there for you guys to grab some nice ASR livery shots. And they've still got the 4 hour. Is that the Bathurst 4 hour on the side? No, sorry, it's the Charlotte 4 hour sticker on the side that these liveries were created for.
Of course, that being a fundraising event for iRacing, for the Multiple Sclerosis Society. One of the first fundraising events I think iRacing has formally put on. So we see them going 3 deep, looking for second place, but they seem to have formed a bit of a queue, maybe accepting that this race isn't going to be won just yet, but with only a 20-minute race, we're probably going to see fireworks starting soon. I don't think we'll see any sort of pit or definitely no tire action on this race, but all of the action will be on track.
We do see Kyle trying to poke his nose in at Kevin again there. He's absolutely desperate for that 3rd position.
I think that battling down in 3rd is letting Leon breathe a little bit. He seems to be putting in a little bit of space behind the 2 drivers behind him, which I'm sure is going to let him relax, focus on his own lines, focus on his braking points. Maybe close down the gap to Joe, but it's gone up to about 2.5 seconds. So might be Joe's race at this point, and then all to play for 2nd place.
Kyle's taking a really tight line there, touching the grass with his right-hand rear tyre, getting a bit slippy as he put the power down.
Yeah, impressive. We haven't really seen anything getting too loose, anybody feeling too aggressive, trying to jump up the grass yet. I expect we're probably going to be seeing a little bit of action like that, but thus far, I'd imagine that everyone's just happy to let things run, try not to let the leader get too far out, but yeah, keep the guys around you tight as well.
Interesting to see
a lot
right
of grass.
Interesting to see right now as well. Kevin and Kyle both putting in times of 1:01 in the past lap, but then behind them, Charlie and Benny putting in a 1 minute flat. So this battling may not be working out particularly well for them. Kevin just putting in a 1 minute flat there, so he's obviously getting a bit of clean air now.
Yeah, Charlie about 2.5 seconds behind this 3rd place battle. So yeah, they definitely don't want to spend too much time thinking about each other. Nope, and we've got a spin.
Yeah, that was Leon. I saw that happening. I was about to mention it. He went very wide on turn 1 there. Oh, nearly hit Benny as well. He went very wide, and obviously he just couldn't turn it back in for the second part of the corner. Had to apply a little bit too much brake and locked the rears by the look of it.
Yep. So that's released Kevin and Kyle to battle for 2nd place now. You got to think that with the space Leon had been, given, he was going to be able to focus. But I guess maybe lost concentration. Sort of when there's not that immediate danger, you can sort of fall back and just fall into a rhythm, but just a little bit off his pace. Very wide on the exit of the first turn.
And Kyle consistently getting that first corner a lot tighter than anybody else. He's pushing it so far into the grass. I'm not sure if it's going to be good for his times or not, but he is keeping up with Kevin. Very deep there by Kevin.
Oh, yeah, Kevin looks to be in control, but yeah, definitely using all of the track, really, especially that uphill chicane. Eager to get onto the rumble strip. Ooh, a lot of that blind curb really turns him around. Again, it can be used really well to help turn the car, but with it not being sighted from over the crest of that turn, it can be a lot riskier.
So we just hit lap 10 of this race, which means 10 minutes remaining, 10 laps to go. Whatever happens first, either the time counts down or the laps count down.
Yeah, Joe seems to be happy off in the front. He's got built over just a 3-second lead now, so he's just pumping in just sub 1.1 minute laps. But Kevin and Kyle really giving us the battle of the K's back in second.
See Leon at the back there just overtook Daniel as well. We didn't see it on screen, but we saw it in the timesheet. And if anybody watching is confused as to who is currently on the screen, you can see the names at the top left. The one that's highlighted in yellow is the person we're currently looking at. And Kevin has also posted the fastest time of this race, I believe. Yeah, he has, with a 1 minute 2/10, which is, yeah, that is the fastest lap of this race so far.
Yeah, incredible lap. I'm a little surprised that we're seeing a fastest lap by a leading car this deep into the race. I would have thought the tires would have just had a little bit of that magic worn off. Maybe you see a driver, chasing another, get a bit of a benefit from a draft to ride up to somebody. But yeah, I think Kevin has maybe decided that no time for fooling around anymore. Put the foot down, get a little bit of space between him and Kyle, and that appears to be working.
I mean, I think the clean air as well will definitely help him to concentrate on getting a good lap.
And he is pulling down time to Joe, so I may have misspoke a little bit earlier when I said that Joe was going to be running away with it, because with 9 laps to go now, not inconceivable that we could start seeing a little bit of a comeback, especially if we get into that 1 second draft range. We see them now coming across the line, and so the order is Joe in first, Kevin Stam second, Kyle Felvis in third, followed by Charlie and Benny.
It's interesting seeing, I can see their pace on screen currently, and almost everybody is keeping the same pace lap after lap here, only dropping if they make a mistake, which is pretty impressive. Like, they've got these lines down.
Yeah, Matthew's been taking advantage of probably a more consistent, even-paced race, but yeah, everybody else still putting in fastest laps just under the 1 minute 1 second time. We've got some weaving down the home stretch as Benny is considered. Oh, no, pardon me. That was Charlie in a decent little battle, maybe looking to move up the order if he can get within striking distance of Kyle.
Yeah, Charlie's really on the back of Kyle now. I think we might want to pay attention to this for a little bit. He's closed that gap over the past couple of corners quite significantly, and he's going to go for the outside of the first hairpin, which means he may try and get the switch back on the inside, but Kyle keeps that line tight, blocking him off. But this fight is going to leave the door open for Benny as well, who we know is super fast.
Yeah, Benny's probably got the bit between the teeth after some mistakes early on really cost him some spots, but yeah, if we can see Charlie and Kyle duking it out, it'll definitely open up the door to some of the guys behind. Oh, and they're so tight right now. Got Kyle swerving way across the track to try and break that draft. So he's going to take a compromised line into the first corner as they go too wide. Wow.
And Benny still slowly clawing back that time. He is getting closer slowly every lap. Looks like Kyle had a slight lock-up on the entry to turn 1 there.
Yeah, credit to Kyle. He's been driving brilliantly, super defensive, but still with a great eye on his pace.
Charlie taking the inside line this time, so he's going to have to brake earlier. But he got to see, oh, he did a bit of a drift there as well.
Yeah, definitely got a little bit looser than he wanted to. Probably up on the curve, got the rear end a little bit loose, got onto power too early, and then shook it. But now we are 3 deep for that third position, I would say.
And Benny ever closer. The slipstream now helping both of them behind Kyle there.
beautiful drive onto the back straight or on the front straight from Benny. Really took a different line than the two, and you can see it brought him right back up to the other guys.
Charlie now keeping his lines very tight. Kyle's looking a bit more loose now. He's taking a bit deeper, obviously trying to push his braking zones a bit further than maybe he ought to. He's no longer cutting that curb as much as he was before.
Yeah, now you know these guys. Who out of this group are you expecting to maybe make a lunge when there's a sliver of hope?
Benny, absolutely Benny. As we see him do right now, he's poking his nose right in. Nearly 3 wide into the second hairpin. But yeah, absolutely Benny will go for any gap given to him as he's now slipstreaming behind Kyle. Got to choose which one to go for. That was very close to contact then as they both slid across that final curb. Oh, bit of contact there.
Yeah, Charlie's being forced just maybe outside a little bit wider than he would have liked, but actually keeps it fairly tidy on exit.
Yeah, Charlie being our resident rallycross driver, so he knows how to control those slides pretty well. Charlie going for the switchback. This could be beautiful if he lands it. Contact between him and Benny again. Benny edging forward in front of Charlie.
3 wide going across Piper Corner. This double apex that you have to hit so carefully to get that stretch leading into Redmond.
So Benny
can't put a sheet over the 3 of them.
Benny getting the position and now leaving Charlie and Kyle still side by side with each other, but Kyle pushing it in front as the other two go wide.
Really terrific racing. I mean, you called it. Benny was not waiting around to look at these two guys duking it out with each other. He wanted to get in front and dictate the pace to the other drivers.
Oh, Charlie nearly went for a lunge then, but got cut off by Kyle. Benny touching the gravel a little bit there, which will affect his speed down this straight. And we are on 3 laps remaining now. Oh, bit of a Mazepin-style move there with Kyle going all the way down the inside. I knew that one was going to happen. That was not a good bit of contact. And all three of them have gone there.
Benny may benefit from this in the end, what looked to be a race-ending incident for him.
Yeah, I would definitely think that the stewards need to take a look at that one. That was a rather nasty move, I think, by Kyle there. As he did take that very, very tight.
Between Benny and Kyle. We may have the final grid as we see it, but yeah, the stewards will definitely have a look at that after the race. Up ahead, don't want to lose sight of our leader. Joe still just pumping in laps. Down just sort of comfortable at a 1 minute, 1 second lap. He's got Kevin about 5 seconds behind him. Not much of a change there. Really, the action finally get a chance to breathe after that battle for third.
This may be a fight down at the back between Daniel and Matthew. Oh, okay, I spoke too soon. I said there was a fight going on between Daniel and Matthew, and I flicked camera to them. They're both in the wall together.
Well, they're definitely going to have a fight. Might not be in the cars, though.
So everybody now spacing out, now settling into the positions. Very unfortunate we've got that collision between 3, 4, and 5. But it was bound to happen with the sort of racing they were doing. Getting more and more aggressive each lap. So there's 1 lap remaining now. 2 laps remaining, my apologies. But also only 1 minute 20 of the race. So depends how quickly the leader finishes this next lap to whether we see all of the laps of this race completed.
I don't expect anybody tried to get too cute with their setups to really juice fuel just until the expected race laps. So with these cars, they're reasonably heavy cars to start with, so realistically, the extra few kilos of fuel isn't going to cause a world of difference.
Well, we're running fixed at the minute, so we do select a setup before the race and run that fixed setup for everyone. As we do cater to a range of sort of new players and experienced players, so we find it more fair to have a fixed setup than to allow the experienced players to absolutely tweak it to oblivion.
Yep, nice to see the skill of the drivers on display on track.
And so we'll be making this last lap. 20 seconds to go. Final lap finished in probably about 40 seconds by Joe. If he keeps this position, doesn't have any oopsies and spin anywhere. He is coming up to Matthew and Daniel very soon.
Yeah, at this point, he can relax a little bit. Doesn't really have to worry about overtaking lap traffic. It's just about getting through that finish, getting across the finish line, and getting himself mentally ready for that reverse grid start. He's, in a way, giving himself the hardest job for the feature race.
Absolutely, yeah. And I did just get the white flag notification, so the white flag has been flown, and it's probably going to change to a checkered flag any second. Yeah, it did just change to a checkered flag, which means that Joe has taken the victory for this first race. And Kevin coming quickly behind him to get the P2. Doing some nice drifting down the final straight and straight into the pit wall. Benny getting P3. Very lucky to get that P3 after that horrible collision that Kyle and Leon were also involved in. Kyle getting P4. Leon coming around the final corner now to take the P5. And Charlie just behind, pushing like a madman to catch Leon, but didn't quite make it. Getting the P6. Daniel and Matthew next to each other. This could be a last corner overtake if Matthew's very lucky.
He's going to have to really send it. I'm curious if one of them enters in the dirt, but no, it looks like they keep it fairly tidy.
Yeah, they keep it tidy. So that is Daniel P7 and Matthew P8. That was a fantastic race. Like the middle section from lap 10 to about lap 17 in that race was absolutely fantastic to watch on stream.
Yeah, I hope the men enjoyed driving as much. I'm sure they would have liked it to end differently, but yeah, certainly quite the performance they put on.
Absolutely. And now we do go to a warm-up session where myself and Peter are going to take a quick break. That's 5 minutes. We'll leave you with some lovely images of the track, and you might see the drivers going around warming up as well. So we will see you in approximately 4.5 minutes. And we have returned. Drivers now gridding back up onto the track, and we'll get going with our next race.
Yeah, we're starting off in the reverse grid start. So that puts Matthew on pole for the second race of the day. Interesting positioning, lining up at the outside of the Okayama track. Actually, something of a compromised position, especially in these cars, where you don't get up to pace so quickly. When it's lights out and away we go. Oh, it looks like that Daniel got a brilliant start and is down into the first turn. Oh, I think. Who do we have in the front now?
That is Daniel first, with Leon just behind. And then Kyle just behind Leon. Kyle jumping forward really well there. And then Matthew just behind Kyle. And then Kevin following. Charlie with a nasty spin at the back there. And Benny already looking for gaps. Look at that move by Benny there. Though he did go wide. Joe trying to keep it clean. Leon now getting to first place after overtaking Daniel. Kyle also getting the overtake.
Yeah, Leon. Leon super loose and puts it into the wall.
I thought he was going to save that for a second.
And so Benny off at the back. I'm not sure what happened there. But at the end of a very active first lap, we have Kyle, followed by Daniel, then Kevin to Matthew. We knew the second race with this reverse grid was going to be busy, but that was an exceptional first lap.
Yeah, and as we saw how Kyle raced in the first race, this could be very interesting for the people behind him because he was defending like a madman, which means that these guys behind might have some difficulty getting past.
Yeah, Kevin and Joe are going to be eager to get in front of Daniel as soon as possible, but Daniel is putting up a fight to his credit after that great start. Ooh, although he takes a lot of grass. It's going to really compromise his exit from that turn. And yeah, sure enough, I think we have Kevin coming around. Ooh, almost pushes him wide, but manages to keep it together. Although the last, and we have contact in the rear. That's Daniel losing it. He keeps it. Oh, he gets it straightened out. But yep, that's a definite change in order.
Yeah, that was. He went on the grass there, which started his spin. So I don't think it was Kevin's fault there, but definitely unfortunate for Daniel. And Benny is in the pits. What's Benny doing? Benny has gone to the pits and got out of his car by the look of it. Had enough with that.
Yeah, so this all benefiting Kyle off to just under a second lead. We know Joe has the pace from the first race. Gonna probably look to close in on that. Should be a good battle then on that lead group. We've got a great battle forming for third place with Kevin and Matthew neck and neck together. Nice exit for both of our top two drivers out of that onto the main straight. Not too much dancing around. I think they both respect each other's skill enough to know that nobody's going to get shaken by seeing a little bit of tire behind them. Ooh, although Kyle gets a little bit wider than I think he would have wanted to coming off of that first turn and into the pair of double apex second and third turns. It's a little squirrely.
And welcome, Mr. Goraz, in the chat. Good to see you here, dude. Joe now really pushing onto Carl there, trying to get the P1 that he won in the first race. And now there is actually only a maximum of 20 laps in this race as well. So I think the format may have changed slightly.
Very good. Should have a nice, short, punchy race then. Oh, my goodness. Big move off onto the grass. Not entirely sure what Kyle's going for there. Either just hyper defensive or maybe lost control for a brief second.
Yeah, although we did see that Joe dropped back a little bit, maybe in fear that Kyle was going to spin into him. So,
takes the inside line on the double apex, and yep, can't get it turned around enough to make it back, headed towards Redmond hairpin, going uphill. Nope, Joe's going to take a little bit wider line, hopefully be able to carry a little bit more speed into that corner. And sure enough, he was all over the bumper of Kyle. But still, Kyle, to his credit, is keeping Joe very controlled behind.
absolutely, yeah. Kyle's defending, but he's keeping it in all the right places. So this is where we might see a move when he gets the slipstream and pulls it out. Kyle going to the grass again.
Very concerned about a move down the outside. Not entirely clear because this is such a inside beneficial corner that you really want to line up on the inside. And yeah, sure enough, Joe takes the inside, moves Kyle out wide, and he's probably going to have the preferred line through this double apex. Sure enough, Kyle actually keeps it. Joe's on the outside, headed towards Redmond, the sharp uphill hairpin. He should have the inside line and be able to maintain his place there. My God, these guys have been too wide for the better part of a lap now. And Joe takes to the inside.
And Joe getting that lead just about there, I think. Yeah, only just in the lead. Kyle's going to try and get a switch back here. He actually manages to almost do it. He's going to go for it.
So close.
It's going to be a drag race now. Down the start-finish straight.
Tons of respect from these two drivers to not make contact. Real skill move there on both parts. This is the first time we've seen Joe able to take that outside line that Kyle's been so aggressively defending.
And Kyle getting the inside this time, so getting the more usable line there. And he is maintaining the lead. Joe just tucking him behind, and Kevin now also about to join this.
Yeah, Kyle and Joe might want to have a look behind them and just say, you know what, we don't need anyone else coming to play with us today. It's better to battle for second come the final lap than it is to try and have to fight for third. But I think with Kevin now fully into the fight for first place, not anything either of these guys can give up to really get away from each other. So now it is a three-way fight for first. This is turning out to be an absolute dinger. Oh, Joe goes in, but just gets a little bit wider than I think he wanted to coming out of the first turn, which is going to lead him. Yeah, he has to give up that inside line going into the double apex. And yep, here they come around Piper, headed towards Redmond. Oh, and yeah, real battle for that inside line. I think they've all come to appreciate how valuable it is to be on the inside, be able to get on the power nice and early, use that grip you get from going up the hill, and then really put the power down.
Lock up from Kyle there. Didn't seem to affect him.
No, if anything, he might actually be pulling away a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Joe's now trying to defend from Kevin here. Kevin touching the gravel there.
Yeah, that should definitely take some steam off, but now we're onto the long front straight, and yeah, these guys are neck and neck together, 0.4 of a second, and once again, Kyle takes the unorthodox line to go off. I have to be curious if
he's... Finally got contact there as he aggressively turned it in, which has given Joe the P1 there, Kevin P2, although this may not work out too badly for Kyle, as Joe's now got the pressure of Kevin behind him, which may slow them down a little bit.
The draft is so strong in these cars, and Joe and Kevin, probably skill-wise, not a world of difference between the two of them, so going to be neck-and-neck dogfight for first could let Kyle back into the picture. Although Joe definitely taking advantage of the fewer cars in his mirrors, stretched out his lead a little bit up to about 6/7 of a second, enough that he doesn't have to worry about getting bombed or anybody taking a look up the inside into turn one. So he can really take his own line, get onto the apex, get onto the power nice and early, and then use the full track on exit to really get this nice, great line, really complicated double apex. He could take that maybe a little wider, but clips the second lovely, hits Piper, and then onto the straight up towards Redmond.
And we did just see Charlie take the fastest lap there with a 1 minute 6/10.
Well done to Charlie. Back and forth, but certainly not giving anyone an inch. Yeah, so Kyle's now back at just over 2 seconds of Joe. Probably, I honestly would have expected to see him clawing back a little bit of time, but I just don't think Kevin's been as aggressive with Joe as Kyle was. Hasn't really forced Joe to think about who's around him as opposed to driving his own line.
Well, there is 9 laps to go. I'm wondering if Kevin's going to slowly get more and more aggressive as the race goes on.
True enough, we see Joe take a little bit wider than I'm sure he wanted to, compromises a little bit of speed on his way up to Redmond, hard out of the brakes, the nose dives down, and then takes the power. Yeah, and we see Kyle's starting to close in on him, but just enough room that he can still drive his own line. But yeah, nobody can relax up front with the draft so strong here today.
I think Charlie just had an issue there as well as he's dropped back down to P6.
What a shame. We see Kevin run a little wide, sacrifices a little speed, won't be looking to make a move on a turn one this lap. Oh yeah, and we see Kevin actually now sitting on the fastest lap, took that away from Charlie.
Took it away by 1/10. And he did get a faster lap than Joe on the previous lap as well. In the previous couple of laps, by the look of it, according to my telemetry here.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect if he's truly on, if Kevin's truly on place with Joe and like ready to get, just holding back to challenge, I'd expect to see him a little bit closer, but he's now starting to dangle back a full second back. Any further back, he's going to lose that draft, make it really easy for Joe to drive away with the first place. As we look back down the field, pretty much breathing room between all of the drivers today. Doesn't look like anybody's now battling for some of the lower positions.
We do only have 7 laps left, so this could get spicy in a few laps' time, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually keeping an eye on that split between Kevin and Kyle. Kevin just seems to have lost some of the impetus to really get after it, and I'm wondering if Kyle, after those absolutely flying first laps where he was battling with Joe, is maybe eager to get back into a battle.
Well, we did just see Kyle absolutely throwing the car around the corners. The car was bouncing on all wheels, so he's obviously pushing.
Yep, sure enough, just about just under 2 seconds now up to Kevin from Kyle. Oh, although he goes wide and loses it, he keeps it on track, but that's going to cost him a ton of time.
That was well controlled.
Yeah, that's not what Kyle needs, and now he's having to take defensive lines to make sure that Leon doesn't get that draft up to Redmond. Leon, we know, can be deadly, so doesn't want to give him much more room than he has to.
Kyle bouncing his car around the penultimate corner again. He seems to like taking a very tight line around that really, really bumpy curve.
Yeah, you can get away with using a fair bit of dirt, and it's so difficult because you can't see the exit from a little bit of elevation change off of that turn. Oh, yeah, but now, sure enough, Kyle, after that mistake, and goes wide again, opening
Same
the door to
place.
Leon. Maybe a little bit of contact across the front, but both keep it straight. Oh, yeah, but Leon is all over Kyle's back end now, looking to take a wide lineup. Redman, backs off a little bit more than I would have expected, maybe hoping to cut back. No, just, I think, understands that he's right up there and can maybe make a move down that front stretch where the draft is so strong.
I expect to see Leon make a move very, very soon.
Yeah, does he come out of the draft just to show his presence? No, it looks like he just... Oh, yeah, we have a move out just to let Kevin know that he's there. Let Kyle know, beg your pardon. But Kyle really showing that ice in his veins that he had during those battles up at the front. Not really shaken much by Leon, despite the definite pace of the driver behind him. Yeah, only about 3 minutes to go on the official time. So Leon's going to want to think about making a move because if this track's so tight and twisty the way it is, yeah, there's a great attacking opportunity down the stretch, but if you really have to set yourself up, and if you miss a corner or two, that whole lap, really, you've lost any passing opportunities. Kyle keeping it very in control.
Yeah, he's also defending, I think, a bit now. Trying to pick the best lines for himself.
Yeah, Leon might just simply be on pace with the draft, but can't really find that extra pace to get around Kyle, so with a big enough gap back to Matthew, he doesn't really have to take much of he can afford to take a number of risks and not have to worry too much about losing a lot of time. He's got a great cushion behind him, but I gotta think that he's gonna want to make some sort of move just to test the waters, see how aggressive Kyle is feeling.
We're now down to 2 minutes remaining, which gives us 2 laps remaining as well.
Yeah, so it's becoming do or die for Leon down behind Kyle. Kyle's really had a great approach to Red Mill, takes the inside line, doesn't want to be surprised at the inside going into this uphill turn. Leon's probably best bet is to actually sit back into some of this section and really allow himself to get a bit of a run up, carry the pace onto the home stretch, and just get his nose in going into that first corner. But again, section's so windy, if you're not right behind the driver in front of you, you're really not going to make much of an impact on the straight. And as I say that...
Oh, Joe had a little bit of a moment there. His rear wheel's dipping into the gravel around turn 1. He nearly lost the car, but he managed to keep it on track.
Yeah, our leader just having to bring it home safely. No sense in making too great a send. Got about 4 seconds back to Kevin Stam. Enough that he can be comfortable with, play a little bit conservatively the last lap, but definitely not enough that he can take his foot off the accelerator. Kevin looking very comfortable. 4 seconds to the front and back of him. Again, just has to keep it consistent. Not really any remarkable moves. But, Leon is so tight behind Kyle this lap.
This is...
Yep.
They just started the last lap as well, so 20 seconds, which means this is going to be the white flag lap. Both of them will have been displayed a white flag now. So Leon will know that he has to make something stick here. So we're going to want to look out for the aggression from Leon, but also aggressive defending from Kyle.
Uses the full track to his full benefit does Leon, but still isn't quite enough to get it. But yeah, I think we're going to see some fireworks in some of these final corners because he definitely knew he didn't want to lead Kyle out for the final lap. Well, and we have our leader, Joe, coming onto the home stretch right now, about to cross the finish line and take his victory in this feature race, followed by Kevin.
Kyle and Leon right next to each other. Neither of them managed to give a place away. Both of them wiggling down the main straight in victory.
Yeah. I think a great show of respect between the two drivers. Definitely knew that they were giving each other an honest effort, and just an absolute wreckfest into T1.
Matthew now coming around the corner. Going over the line. And I think Charlie already finished. I think he was a lap down, maybe.
Yep, Matthew able to keep his race together. Oh, and plows into his competitors to celebrate their finish.
Absolutely, and there we see Charlie as well, who, it doesn't sound like telemetry has finished the race, but he will be P6. Oh, it looks like he's taken the rest of this course in reverse, knowing that all of his efforts have failed him. The number 69 car taking the last half of this track in reverse. I wonder if he'll make it.
You can hear the engine screaming. This is not a gear that wants to be driven down a stretch at full tilt, but credit to him, making a reasonably difficult corner. Comes up to the second hairpin. Ooh, goes a little wide, but recollects it onto the track.
And this is a driver who's used to his four-wheel drive cars. This will be feeling very bizarre to him right now.
Yeah. Perhaps considering for his next race, if he wanted a front-wheel drive car. Picking an alternate strategy with the MX-5s for later in the season.
Yeah, well, these MX-5s are front-wheel already, which is why they're so nice and easy to drive.
These MX-5s are rear-wheel drive, actually.
You sure?
Positive. Yes.
Interesting.
They are more lively than some of the other cars in the service. I think we have the Kia Optima and the Audi TCR as the front-wheel drive offerings on the service. Very forgiving cars both, although very prone to understeer.
Interesting.
And we have the God of Hellfire, Charlie Lord, finishing his lap
in reverse.
Very credible. And finishes off with a celebratory slam.
Excellent. Well, they were a couple of fantastic races there. Saw some great action from many of our drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, I think Joe was really the class of the field today. Maybe not some of the fireworks we saw from the other drivers, but just a good, solid, responsible drive. Both races. Finished P1 both races.
Yeah, absolutely. He really put the effort in there, and he didn't. It wasn't like he had completely clean laps either. He did make a couple of mistakes, and he did recover from them as well. Especially with that battle with Kevin, that was quite intense for a couple of laps. And obviously, it was unfortunate that Kyle had issues in both the races because I think he could have finished a bit higher up if he didn't.
Yeah, I think if all these guys can figure out how to. Sorry, I'm just watching some of the collisions down the pit straight now. I think looking down the season, if they keep things tidy, we can definitely have a bit of a battle for first.
Absolutely, yeah. And talking about future in the season, I shall just tell you guys right now where we're going next when I get it up on screen. Oh my. Next week is going to be fiery. We are going to Laguna Seca in the same cars, the MX-5. So seeing some of these guys down the corkscrew is going to be rather interesting.
Because it will be a show.
Yeah, absolutely will. That's a big track for some very little cars. And if anyone was wondering how our seasons work as well, we do 4 weeks of a car, then change the car. All of our content is completely free, so you don't have to buy any extra things in iRacing. You just have to have a subscription to the service. So yeah, we're currently in our MX-5 phase of the road schedule right now. After that, we'll be going to the Formula Vs, and then we'll be going into the Radicals. So they will slowly get faster and faster and faster later through the season, which will be absolutely fantastic to watch. The next race that we've got is actually on Monday, Monday the 18th, and that will be at 18:30 UTC, which is 7:30 in the UK or 8:30 in the EU. That's our rallycross, and we will be going to Phoenix Raceway first of all. Going to be a great race. Got a rather large grid, well, a full grid for rallycross. So the carnage is going to be huge over there. But until then, I think this is a great race, and thank you very much, Peter, for coming to commentate with me as well.
Absolute pleasure. Joy to be here with you.
Good. And yeah, all of our viewers, I hope to see you guys again next time.